Hello everybody, my name is Haiyan, and this presentation is about the evidence of the space weather-induced natural disaster. This is a research that I've been conducted for several years, and I would like to share with everybody online on what I have found, and this is something that several people have discovered as well. When we talk about natural disaster in this term, I refer to a sudden event that occur on the earth in terms of Mother Nature try to balance the energy inside itself. These sudden events occur such as could be earthquake, volcanic eruption, tropical storm formation, flash flood, heat wave, and etc. In order to understand the coupling mechanism between space and Earth, I would like to introduce a simple concept that guides it to this. If we have been studying history of the Earth, people have been observing stars and every objects outside our Earth for decades or several thousand or 100 years, and what they have observed is that they have some events occur at the sun or something outside that's flickering, and then something happened on Earth afterwards. And back then we don't have technology to perform many different characteristics. So all the story about this connection has been carried on through generations, and until today, where we have all the technology that help us understand the connections. So I want to keep this concept to be very simple, so that everyone can understand and be able to reproduce by their own experience, and also verified it using all the resources available online, as well as what you can see by your five sense perceptions. In terms of information online, you can find what NASA has been published regarding the space weather, as well as NOAA and other well-known organizations. So in terms of simplicity, we have to start with understand the law of nature. This is the correct way to make proper assumptions, so that we know that the solution will always conform with what we have been observed. One is that everyone has to realize that everything occurs from multiple causes and multiple conditions. In this case, if some event occur, we can see that the causes can be various. For example, if I have a desire for food, it could come from my own body that actually need food, or could come from craving inside my mind, or could be an external trigger, which is food sit in front of me, creating those craving. So there could be many things. And in order to have a balanced view of the world, we always see things in dualities and as well as a whole. For example, in terms of electricities, we have magnetic field as well as electric field, as well as we have inductor and capacitor in the circuits. And every circuit always have inductance and capacitance and resistance and other things. But we cannot treat a circuit using only the inductor alone or capacitor alone. And in terms of studying the connection between space weather and natural disaster, we have to realize that everything around us is a living organism. In terms of living organism, as we know it, is that, for example, ourselves, we have body and mass, and inside our body we can generate heat, and in order to generate heat continuously and creating all the activities of all humans, we rely on energy from outside, such as food and air, to breathe. So similar thing applies to Earth in this case, where Earth relies external energy in order to have all the activities that's going on in terms of the change in weather, tectonic plates activities. So energy has to come from somewhere. It just cannot come from itself. And if it comes from itself, eventually it goes away. But in realities right now, it has been dynamically changing all the time. So we can apply this concept in this research. So in terms of electrical concept that helps understand such connection, I would like to start the concept using electrical charges. This is a simple definition that everybody understands, that every atom contains charges, both positive or negative. And in these charges, if we observe careful enough, it never remains truly static. That means the charge change all the time. In an electrons, for example, electrons rotates around protons all the time. It never stay at the same place all the time. And in the real system, even in a piece of rock, you always have activity inside that rocks in the molecular scale. It's always moving all the time. In this case, the Earth is the same thing. And since the charge never remains static, that means it's always changing. And if it's always changing, there's always going to be charge separation between positive and negative. And if there's charge separations, there's always medium that separate charges. This is obvious again. We have to have some medium. In this case, we can say that it's space, or air, atmosphere, or other types of dielectrics such as rock, tectonic plates. And also, when there's charge separated, you always have energy stored in the medium. To help understand this, please visualize it as a storage, such as a capacitor. In the capacitor, it contains positive plate, the dielectric, and the negative plate. If you charge this capacitor, there will be energy stored in that capacitor, and you will be free to take the plate, which is conductor plate, positive and negative plate, away from this capacitor, and the charge will remain there. So this is just to prove that the energy actually stored in the dielectric and in the medium. And if there's charge separations and energy is stored in that medium, the stress always exists. So if the stress always exists, eventually there's going to be some times when the stress has to be released. In this case, in terms of natural disaster, we can visualize this as a result of energy release from stress. And eventually, since everything never remains truly static, it moves all the time, there'll be a mechanism where energy will be restored locally, because we have a dynamic changing environment. Next, once we understand the fundamental of the charge and how energy is stored and released, we'll go to the topic of the Earth. As we know that Earth is electrically charged, it contains millions coulombs in average on the surface, so it's not a neutral object floating in space. And above the surface we have charge separations, which causing electrical potential of about 300,000 volts between surface and stratosphere. So there's charge separation right there. So by this evidence alone suggests that Earth is a place where a large amount of electrical energy is stored. And also electric field that's beyond stratosphere. If you look at the Van Allen radiation belt, nowadays scientists has discovered that Van Allen radiation belt is a big place where electrical energy is stored, and we discovered that there's a giant electric field that's been supercharged this belt, and most likely that the energy is come from the outside, and this energy is invisible to naked eye. However, nowadays we have technology that we can see such fluctuations using all those sophisticated equipments that we have built so far. So in terms of electric field modulation in space, I would like to show you the video from NASA on your left hand side, showing the fluctuations of electric field as well as magnetic field that goes together simultaneously. On your right hand side you have the sun, which creates a fluctuation of charge as well, and we look at it as an abrupt change at the sun, which can be in many different terms, such as coronal mass ejection. You can have sunspot expansion, solar flares, coronal holes, or etc. So there's a charge that's changing at the sun. We also can relate those charges that change at the Earth as well. As you can see that those belts modulates according to the solar wind, as well as other terms that could induce electric field. And if you think about it, this contains layers of charge. If there's a charge moving in the outer belt, there will always be charge moving in the inner belt, and there's always charge moving on the surface, and there's always charge can be modulating underground. So everything goes together as one. So next, I would like to demonstrate that we can have an effect of levitation when we have charge in the object. This thing can be proved very easily in your own home, where you have dryer. If you put clothes inside dryers and dry it, especially during winter time when it's low humidity, you carefully take the clothes out without touching it, the one that you try to experimenting with. You may be able to experience the video that I'm going to show right now, is that charge can cause levitation. So it causes the object to levitate above the ground. However, when you move your finger close to it and you touch it, charge got dissipates and become neutralized. All the force go away. So it falls down, just like the picture here. So in this case, we can visualize it as cloud that levitates above the air, even though clouds and contains huge amount of water. And before those become rain, it produces cracking sound and lightning before it falls down. So it's the same effects in this case. So you can have flash floods that can occur all of a sudden is you have the right trigger mechanism to produce avalanche effects. In the next example, I would like to show you how we actually can modulate the cloud using electrical charge. In this case, there's a video on YouTube demonstrated to simulate the ocean surface by putting a negative charge on the plate on the water and put dry ice on it to simulate clouds. From this picture, you can see that if we have a charge with different potential that's floating in the air without touching the cloud below can behave or react to it simultaneously. So this is action of electrical force that can be applied to the cloud. So you can relate this to if something can be excited from the ground below. See, in this video we have a piece of conductor that actually causing a pinch of clouds during a fast period of time. So this can be related to what happened here on the right hand side. You can see a circular disc shape, the cloud that's got pinched, or you can have this effects from volcanic eruptions where charge has different potential, so it causes separations, causing the ring around that plume of clouds. In the next example, I would like to show you how we create a spin using voltage potential. In this case, I would like to use Thomson tornado theory to explain this. So we have positive terminal below, on the glass below. We have magnets attached to the magnets, and from above we have negative terminal that's moved down closer to the positive terminal. You can see that the vortex is initiated when the negative terminal moves closer to the positive terminal. So this is a characteristic of the tornadoes where it starts to spin. So you have a low pressure system pushing it down, and the spin will be created automatically. So you can have initializing the storm by having a sudden change in electric field, which just try to initialize the spin vortex. In the next slide, I want to demonstrate how mass amount of water we transfer entirely using electric potential, and there's a current associated with it. In this case, we have a video from YouTube demonstrate that we apply high voltage potential of 15 kilovolts between two beaker contains water. As you can see that when the potential is high enough, the floating water bridge is created, and it can sustain the spin of columns of water as long as there's a potential there exists, and then the separation of those, which is not too far away from each other. If you look at the top view of this, you can visualize it as a storm where you have spin and you have a round circular thing in the center. If you watch this experiment carefully, we move the two plates close together, and then you have the vertex connection created, or floating water bridge. You move closer to again, you see how the spin created the same way, and this is also have mass transfer. On the picture on the right hand side, you can see that it's really similar to something like water sprouts if you rotate in the horizontal plane. Next, we want to talk about electricity and seismic activities. People around the world have been observing that before the earthquake occurred, there's a lot of phenomenon such as a generation of electric field, so it's a surge in electric field, as well as earthquake lights and sound. In the picture on the left hand side, we see glowing orbs of lights in the sky before or during the Fukushima earthquake. And also we have the compression of ionosphere layer, and we can ask question, what caused the ionosphere to compress to begin with? The answer could be from underground, or could be from space, or both. In the center, we also see how a new islands form after the Pakistan earthquake, magnitude of 7.7 Richter scale on September 27, 2013. And if you look closely in this island, it looked like circular shape, and that kind of reminds me of electrical discharge. And these islands form in a day, so it's a sudden phenomenon. And if you look at the picture on the right hand side, you can see the volcanic eruption in Chile, which contains a lot of charge in the air during the eruptions. So these can be visualized as electric phenomena as well. So they're all electrics, and we can see that if there's a modulation occur, there will be some event occur, and those modulation in electric field can be induced by space weather. So we go to the case study of Hurricane Sandy in October 2012. I would like to start the events with the coronal mass ejection occur on October 19. So we have charged particle arrive on October 23rd. In this chart below, we have high activity of solar flares, and we measure this in a linear scale on your left hand side. You can see that a lot of high solar flare activities starting from October 20 to October 23rd. And during the time, you can see that there's a new tropical storm initiated. At that time, it's not become hurricane yet. Then on October 21st and 22nd, we see that we have a second event of coronal mass ejection, which arrived on October 24th. Oh, by the way, during Hurricane Sandy, the solar flares is X1 class, which is considered a significant event. As you can see that when charged particle arrive, you can see that the speed of the Hurricane Sandy increased significantly over this time, and that is plot on the right hand axis here is wind speed in kilometers per hour. and then it start to hit the land and start to dissipate down. And then we look at the next case study here. We have coronal mass ejection occur on October 26th, arrive on October 29th. You can see that the Hurricane Sandy start to gain strength again, which is about the same time that we have some impulse response expect to arrive on the Earth's orbital path. And that means it's arrived on the orbital path. It doesn't mean that it necessarily have to be a direct hit at all. Next, we talk about Super Typhoon Haiyan, which occurred on November 2013. In this case, I'd like to start with the events of coronal mass ejection, which is a hollow CME. You can see how significant it is from the video. And you see that the charged particle arrived on November 4th. Around the same time, we have high intensity solar flares of X3, which is the largest solar flares of the entire year. You can see that tropical storms start the initiations. On November 4th, we have another coronal mass ejection, which arrived on November 5 to 6. You can see that at that time, the Haiyan becomes super typhoon really fast. During a short amount of time, the wind speed increased significantly, and then it starts to die down. Then on November 7, we have a partial hollow CME event arrive on November 9th. As you can see, there's no effects on this super typhoon. However, this new storm system called CO3A formed in Indian Ocean instead. So these are continuous events if you track it carefully. And you can find a lot of information from RSOE, it's an emergency report website of natural disaster. Next, the final case, I would like to show the case study which is recently occurred between February to March 2014. At late February 24th to February 25th, we have one of the massive coronal mass ejection as well of X-ray flare X5, which is the largest solar flare since 2012. We also have, we can calculate based on the initial speed that the energy will propagate through space and arrive in Earth's orbital path around late on the February 26th. And we expect charged particle to pass through Earth around late 27th of February. So this is a known timing that we can calculate from initial velocity as well as the measurements on the ground. On the February 26th, it's known that we have Earth-Moon-Venus conjunction. And during the initiation of the sudden eruption of the sun, we observed that there's a frequent earthquake, magnitude of 5.6, occur in Carlsberg Ridge area, and that's quite frequent. On February 26, we have volcanic eruptions in Costa Rica, increased volcanic activities in Indonesia and Alaska, as well as earthquake of 6.1 Richter scale in Alaska. So this is considered a significant earthquake. Doesn't occur every day, but it occurs in synchronicity with the solar activity, or could be some kind of other space weather-induced events. And then we can expect something else that's going to happen afterward as well. On the 27th, we have report that we have massive snowstorm formed in Canada, as well as tropical storm Kofi and Fasia started formation in the Pacific Ocean. There's two storms, as well as a large water vapor vortex formed near the California coast. That's a huge water vapor vortex. On the 28th, so this has happened around the Earth, and we can observe that at home as well. In this case, we have weather station in Arlington, Virginia, where we have Weather Underground.com has monitoring this. We can look at the wind speed, wind gust, and barometric pressure during that time. We had discovered that during the time when there's a solar activity on February 24th, you can see increase in wind gusts, and as well as another second shot on 26th, and the largest one around this time is on the 28th, and between 27 and 28. So they are correlated. And on the same day, we have report of flooding in Los Angeles. And during February 27, we observed a geomagnetic storm with the KP index level 6. On March 1st, we have a continuous solar activity. In this case, we observed the largest sunspot number in 2014. So we can expect something will happen afterward as well. And there it is. On March 2nd, we have earthquake of 6.2 in magnitude in Nicaragua. We have earthquake of 6.7 in magnitude in Japan. And we have a new winter storm, Typhon, formed on the eastern side of the United States. As well as there's a report of the biggest wave in the world expected to hit Cornwall on Monday, March 3rd. So the report, the biggest wave is formed on March 2nd. So from here we can conclude that there's evidence of space-induced natural disaster, and this natural disaster can be explained using simple electrical models, as I've been demonstrated here. I also have proved that there's a connection in terms of timing. So we have theory, we have experimental proof in the laboratory, and we have the real physical evidence from the real events on Earth. So we can use this space weather as a warning signs for natural disaster. But again, we have to be really careful that there are several other factors as well. And this can be verified through real world experience and observations. And I can encourage everyone to observe the solar activities and space weather and see for yourself when there's a significant event outside the Earth and what happened in your area in terms of weather, or what happened around the globe during that time. So this concludes my talk, and thank you very much for listening.